The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had stood for 3 million years. Its walls were made of black stone taken from dead stars. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed beneath it. 12 species sat in a circle of floating platforms, each one representing billions of lives across thousands of worlds. High Arbiter Velos floated at the center. His body was thin and gray, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like pale moons. He had led the council for 9,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched young species crawl out of their birth worlds and reach for the stars. And he had watched them all kneel. "The matter before us today is simple," Velos said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The species known as humans has been spacefaring for 60 years. They have spread to 12 colony worlds. They have built ships. They have weapons." A low murmur passed through the council. "This is not acceptable," Velos continued. "Young species must be guided. They must be protected from themselves. Earth will be offered the same choice we have offered every civilization before them. Integration." Warlord Dren laughed from his platform. He was massive, covered in dark scales, with teeth like broken glass. His species had served the council as its military arm for 100,000 years. "Integration," he repeated. "A kind word for surrender. It is protection," Velos said calmly. "Earth will give up its military. It will accept council oversight. In return, it will receive our guidance and our peace." "And if they refuse?" asked Counselor Mira. She was smaller than the others, with silver skin and large, dark eyes. Her species, the Thelians, had been integrated long ago. They had learned to stay quiet. But something about this meeting made her speak. Velos turned his glowing eyes toward her. "No species has ever refused. They understand that resistance against the Council is impossible. We command 10,000 worlds. We have fleets beyond counting. What is Earth? A single planet with a few colonies. They will kneel. They always do." The message was sent that same day. It traveled across the void at speeds faster than light. It reached Earth's orbital station in moments. And it changed everything. Director Kang Tae stood in the United Nations War Room, deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his life preparing for threats, but nothing had prepared him for this. The alien message played on the screen before him. The High Arbiter's face filled the display, speaking in a language that Earth's computers had learned to translate only 10 years ago. "People of Earth, you have been watched. You have been measured. The Galactic Council has determined that your species requires guidance. You will surrender all military vessels. You will accept protective integration. You will send a delegation to the Council Station Eternity Prime to formalize your submission. You have 30 of your days. This is not a request." The room was silent. 20 of Earth's most powerful leaders sat around the table. Presidents, generals, scientists. All of them looked at the screen with the same expression. "Fear. We cannot fight them," said General Hoffman from Germany. "Our intelligence suggests their fleet numbers in the hundreds of thousands. We have 400 ships. This is not a war we can win." "Then we surrender," said Minister Tanaka from Japan. "We survive. We wait. Perhaps in 1,000 years, we can try again. In 1,000 years, there will be no humanity left," said Director Kang quietly. "We have studied what happens to integrated species. They lose their culture, their identity, their will. Within 10 generations, they forget they were ever free." "Then what do you suggest?" General Hoffman demanded. "We fight and die? Our children burn in nuclear fire? Our colonies turn to ash?" The door to the war room opened. A man walked in, wearing the dark uniform of Earth's United Fleet. He was 60 years old, with a face like carved stone and eyes that had seen too much. Admiral Park Jun had commanded Earth's military for 15 years. He had built the fleet from nothing. He had prepared for a war he hoped would never come. Now it had come. "I suggest," Admiral Park said slowly, "that we stop acting like prey." He walked to the center of the room and placed his hands on the table. 60 years ago, we found something on Mars, a bunker, built by a species that died 1 million years before humans existed. They left a warning. The room went still. The Council does not protect young species, Park continued. It consumes them. It takes their resources, their people, their future. Every species that has knelt before the Council has been slowly erased. The Thelians, the Vaughn, the Keth, dozens of others, all gone, all forgotten. Why did we not know this? Minister Tanaka asked. Because we kept it secret. Director Kang answered. If the Council knew we had found the bunker, they would have come for us decades ago. We needed time. Time to build. Time to prepare. Admiral Park touched a control on the table. The screen changed. It showed shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, factories on distant moons, weapons that Earth's public had never seen. 400 ships, Park said. That is what the Council sees. That is what we let them see. The truth is different. We have built more. We have trained crews. We have developed weapons and tactics that no species in this galaxy has ever used. Because we knew this day would come, General Hoffman stared at the screen. You planned for war. I planned for survival. Park replied. The Council expects us to send a single ship with documents of surrender. They expect us to kneel like every species before us. He paused. I say we give them something else. Director Kang stood up. He looked around the room at the frightened faces of Earth's leaders. We have a choice. We can surrender and watch our children become slaves, or we can fight and show the galaxy that humanity does not kneel. The vote was taken in silence. One by one, hands rose. 3 hours later, a single message was sent to the Galactic Council. It was short, simple, and it would change the course of history. Earth's delegation departs within the cycle. High Arbiter Velos received the message and smiled. Another young species had learned its place. He ordered the ceremonial hall prepared for the surrender. He did not know what was coming. None of them did, because humanity had learned something long ago, in the blood and fire of its own history. Those who kneel, die on their knees. Those who stand, die on their feet. And sometimes, against all odds, those who stand win. The fleet was gathering. The wolves were coming. The shipyard floated in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter. It had no name. It appeared on no maps. For 40 years, it had been humanity's greatest secret. And now, it was coming to life. Admiral Park Jun stood on the observation deck of the station, watching as ships emerged from their hiding places. They came from asteroid fields and hidden moons. They came from bases buried deep beneath the ice of Europa and the storms of Titan. 412 warships, gathering like wolves before a hunt. Captain Lee Hana walked up beside him. She was 41 years old, with short black hair and eyes that never seemed to rest. She had commanded the flagship Defiance for 3 years. She had trained her crew for a battle that most people believed would never happen. The fleet will be assembled in 6 hours, she said. All ships report ready. Park nodded slowly. And the crew? How are they? Hana was quiet for a moment. Scared, angry, ready. She paused. They know what we are about to do. They know many of them will not come home, but not one of them has asked to leave. Park turned to look at her. Do you believe we can win? I believe we have no choice. Hana replied. Winning or losing does not matter. What matters is that we try. What matters is that we do not kneel. The Admiral almost smiled. Your grandmother would be proud. Hana's grandmother had been a soldier too. Long ago, in a war fought on Earth's surface. She had told young Hana stories about fighting against impossible odds, about standing when others ran, about dying on your feet instead of living on your knees. Those stories had shaped Hana's entire life. She would tell me to stop talking and start fighting, Hana said. Park laughed quietly. It was the first time he had laughed in days. Then let us not disappoint her. Get to your ship, Captain. We leave in 6 hours. Hana saluted and walked away. Park watched her go, then turned back to the window. The ships were beautiful in the darkness. Humanity's Defiance, made of steel and fire. On the bridge of the Defiance, Lieutenant Yoon Soo was running final calculations. He was 28 years old, the youngest tactical officer in the fleet. Some said he was too young. Others said he was a genius. Both were probably true. His screens showed the battle plan in glowing lines. Human ships were smaller than Council dreadnoughts. They had less armor, fewer guns. In a straight fight, they would lose, so Yunsu had made sure they would not fight straight. Swarm tactics, he muttered to himself. Adjusting the formation. Hit them from every direction. Blind their sensors. Cut their communications. Make them fight alone, while we fight together. The Council had never faced an enemy like this. Their wars were simple. Big ships crushed small ships. Strong fleets destroyed weak fleets. They had forgotten what it meant to fight someone who did not play by their rules. Humanity had never forgotten. War was in their blood. It was their curse and their gift. They had spent thousands of years killing each other. Now, for the first time, they would turn that terrible knowledge outward. Captain Lee Hana entered the bridge. The crew stood at attention. "Sit down," she said. "We have work to do." She walked to the central command chair and looked at the faces around her. Young faces, old faces, scared faces, brave faces. They came from every nation on Earth: Korea, Brazil, Nigeria, Russia, Japan, 100 countries, united for the first time in human history. "I am not going to lie to you," Hana said. "The enemy is stronger than us. They have more ships, more guns, more experience. By every measure, we should lose." The bridge was silent. "But they have forgotten something," Hana continued. "They have forgotten what it means to be afraid. They have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. They look at us and see children. They see prey." She paused. "Let us show them what prey can do when it has teeth." A young officer named Kim Dae raised his hand. "Captain, what if we fail? What happens to Earth?" Hana looked at him for a long moment. "If we fail, Earth will fight. Every city, every village, every person. The Council will not find slaves waiting for them. They will find fire." She stood straighter. "But we will not fail, because failure is not something humans accept." Across the fleet, similar scenes were happening. Captains spoke to their crews. Officers checked their weapons. Engineers ran final tests on engines and shields. 412 ships, preparing for the impossible. On Earth, Director Kang Tae stood in a recording studio. A camera pointed at his face. In a few minutes, his message would be sent to every human colony, every station, every ship. Billions of people would hear his words. He took a deep breath and began. "People of Earth, people of our colonies. Today, we face the greatest threat in human history. An alien empire demands our surrender. They expect us to kneel. They expect us to give up everything that makes us who we are." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We will not kneel. We will not surrender. We will not let our children grow up as slaves. Today, our fleet goes to meet the Council, not to beg, not to submit, but to announce to the galaxy that humanity stands free." His voice grew stronger. "I cannot promise victory. I cannot promise that all of our soldiers will return, but I can promise this. Whatever happens, we face it standing. Whatever comes, we face it together. We are human. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We have survived everything the universe has thrown at us. And we will survive this." He looked directly into the camera. "To our enemies, I have only this to say. You have made a mistake. You have woken something that should have been left sleeping. We are coming, and we are not afraid." The recording ended. Kang Tae closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of his daughter, only 12 years old. He thought of the world she would inherit. Then he opened his eyes and nodded to his assistant. "Send it." 6 hours later, the fleet was ready. Admiral Park Jun stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Eternal Soul. Around him, 412 vessels held position in perfect formation. "All ships report ready," his communications officer announced. Park looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council waited. They had prepared a ceremonial hall. They had written speeches about humanity's surrender. They expected one ship carrying documents of submission. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "All ships," Park said calmly. Activate faster than light drives. Destination: Eternity Prime. The fleet vanished in a flash of light, leaving only empty space behind. The wolves were on their way, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council Station, Eternity Prime, was the largest structure in the known galaxy. It was 100 kilometers wide, built from metals that had no name in human languages. It floated in the heart of Council space, surrounded by 50 dreadnoughts that had never known defeat. High Arbiter Velos stood in the ceremonial hall, watching servants prepare for Earth's surrender. Golden banners hung from the ceiling. A platform had been built where the human delegation would kneel. Everything was perfect. The humans should arrive within the hour, said Warlord Dren. He stood beside Velos, arms crossed over his massive chest. One small ship, carrying their documents of submission. Just like every species before them. Indeed, Velos said. Though I must admit, I am curious about these humans. They built their fleet so quickly. They expanded faster than most young species. It does not matter, Dren replied. Fast or slow, they all kneel in the end. My dreadnoughts will remind them of their place if they forget. Counselor Mira watched from her platform, saying nothing. She had a bad feeling about this. Something in the human message had seemed wrong. Too calm, too confident. But she kept her thoughts to herself. Speaking against the Council was dangerous. In the sensor room of Eternity Prime, technicians monitored the space around the station. They expected to see one ship emerge from faster-than-light travel. A small diplomatic vessel, nothing threatening. What they saw instead made them scream. The first ship appeared like a flash of lightning. Then another. Then 10. Then 100. They kept coming, tearing holes in space, emerging in perfect formation around the station. The sensor screens lit up with warnings. Alarms began to wail. Contact, a technician shouted. Multiple contacts, 200, 300, 400 vessels. That is impossible, his commander said. The humans only have 412 ships. The technician interrupted, his voice shaking. They have 412 warships, and they are surrounding us. In the ceremonial hall, the alarms reached Velos and Dren. The Arbiter's pale face went even paler. Dren's scales rippled with sudden anger. What is happening? Velos demanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing the space outside the station. Human ships filled the screen. They were everywhere, moving into position with perfect precision. The 50 Council dreadnoughts suddenly looked very small. They tricked us, Dren growled. They hid their true strength. How is this possible? Velos asked. Our spies reported their fleet strength. 400 ships at most. Your spies, Mira said quietly, saw what the humans wanted them to see. Dren turned to her with fury in his eyes. What do you know about this? Nothing, she replied calmly. But I know what I see. The humans did not come to surrender. They came to fight. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Lee Hanna watched the sensor display with a grim smile. The fleet had arrived in perfect formation. The Council dreadnoughts were surrounded. Every escape route was blocked. All ships in position, Lieutenant Yunsu reported. Enemy fleet is holding. They seem confused. They have never seen anything like this, Hanna said. They expected a lamb. They found wolves. Admiral Park Jun's voice came through the communication system. All ships, hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon. We came to talk first. And if they do not want to talk, Hanna asked, then we teach them a lesson they will never forget. Park opened a channel to the Council station. His face appeared on every screen in the ceremonial hall. Velos, Dren, Mira, and every other Council member stared at the human who had dared to challenge them. High Arbiter Velos, Park said. His voice was calm and steady. You summoned Earth for surrender. Earth has arrived, but we have not come to surrender. Velos struggled to control his rage. This is an act of war. You dare to threaten the Galactic Council? We have ruled this galaxy for 3 million years. And in 3 million years, Park replied, no species has ever said no to you. You will be destroyed, Dren shouted. My dreadnoughts will tear your pathetic fleet apart. Park's expression did not change. Your dreadnoughts are surrounded. Your escape routes are closed. You have 50 ships. We have 400. For the first time in your history, you are not the strongest force in the room. He paused. I suggest you remember how to negotiate. Velos raised a thin hand, silencing Dren. What do you want? Human, we want what you never offered. Respect, equality, a seat at your council, and a promise that no species, young or old, will ever be forced to kneel again. Impossible, Velos declared. The council does not negotiate with inferior species. Then you have a problem, Park said simply. Because we are not leaving. And we are not kneeling. You can accept our terms, or you can watch your dreadnoughts burn. The choice is yours. The channel remained open. In the council chamber, the 12 species argued among themselves. Some demanded war. Others urged caution. Mira watched silently, hope growing in her heart for the first time in centuries. Dren could not contain himself any longer. He pushed past Velos and shouted into the communication system. Humans! You think your numbers scare us? Our dreadnoughts have crushed 1,000 fleets. We will destroy you and then burn your homeworld to ash. He turned to his officers. All ships, attack! Destroy the human fleet, warlord. Wait, Velos began, but it was too late. The council dreadnoughts powered up their weapons. Their engines roared to life. 50 massive ships began to move toward the human formation. On the bridge of the Defiance, Hana watched the enemy fleet advance. Admiral, they are attacking. Park's voice was heavy with regret. Then we have no choice. All ships. Engage. Lieutenant Yoon Soo activated the battle plan. Across the fleet, 412 ships received their orders. Weapons powered up. Engines screamed. Humanity's wolves prepared to bite. Captain Lee Hana stood at her command chair and spoke to her crew. Remember what we are fighting for. Remember your families, your homes, your children. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity can do. She gave the order. All batteries, fire. Space erupted in light and fire. The battle of Eternity Prime had begun, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Council dreadnoughts were mountains of metal and fire. Each one was 3 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could crack planets. They had crushed rebellions across the galaxy. They had never lost a battle. They had never fought humans. The first volley from the human fleet was not aimed at the dreadnoughts themselves. It was aimed at their sensors. Hundreds of missiles filled with electronic warfare packages exploded in the space around the council ships. Suddenly, the dreadnoughts were blind. What is happening? Warlord Dren roared from his flagship. Why can I not see the enemy? Our sensors are jammed, his officer reported. The humans are using some kind of interference. We cannot track their ships. Then fire everywhere. Fill the space with weapons fire. The dreadnoughts opened fire. Massive beams of energy cut through space. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. But the human ships were not there anymore. They had moved. Lieutenant Yoon Soo smiled grimly as he watched his screens. The swarm tactics were working perfectly. Human ships were smaller and faster than the dreadnoughts. They moved in groups of 5, attacking from multiple directions, never staying in one place long enough to be hit. Group 7. Target the 3rd dreadnought's engines, he commanded. Group 12. Hit their communication array. Keep them blind. Keep them confused. On the Defiance, Captain Lee Hana flew her ship directly into the enemy formation. It was insane. It was suicidal. It was exactly what the Council did not expect. Hard to port, she shouted. Full power to forward shields. The Defiance rolled between 2 dreadnoughts, so close that their hulls almost touched. The massive ships tried to track the human vessel, but they were too slow. Their weapons could not turn fast enough. They ended up firing at each other. Direct hit on enemy vessel, Kim Dae reported. They just shot their own ally. Keep moving, Hana ordered. Do not give them time to think. Across the battlefield, human ships danced between the dreadnoughts like fish swimming through the legs of elephants. They hit weak points. They disabled weapons. They cut engines. They made the council ships fight blind and alone. Warlord Dren watched his fleet fall apart and could not understand what was happening. His ships were bigger. His weapons were stronger. His crews were veterans of 100 wars. How were they losing to a species that had only been in space for 60 years? "Concentrate fire," he screamed. "Target the largest human ship." 3 dreadnoughts turned their weapons toward Admiral Park Jun's command ship, the Eternal Soul. For a moment, it seemed the human flagship would be destroyed. Then 20 human frigates appeared from behind an asteroid. They launched everything they had at the attacking dreadnoughts. Missiles, railgun rounds, electronic warfare packages. One of the dreadnoughts lost its shields. Another had its weapons disabled. The third began to spin out of control as its engines failed. "Admiral, you are clear," Captain Hana reported. "Thank you, Captain," Park replied. "Now let us finish this." The battle had lasted 90 minutes. Already, 20 Council dreadnoughts were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 30 were scattered, their formations broken, their communications jammed. They fought alone. Each ship for itself. Warlord Dren refused to accept defeat. He ordered his flagship to charge directly at the human fleet. If he could not win, he would at least take some of them with him. "Prepare boarding pods," Hana ordered. "We take him alive." The Defiance matched speed with Dren's flagship. Human Marines in powered armor launched from their ship and cut through the enemy hull. The fighting inside was brutal and fast. Council warriors were larger and stronger than humans, but they had never faced enemies who fought with such fury. Sergeant Moonji led her squad through the corridors of the enemy ship. Her armor was covered in blood and scorch marks. Her rifle was hot in her hands. 3 of her soldiers were dead, but they were winning. "Target is on the bridge," she reported, moving to capture. They found Warlord Dren standing in the center of his command room, surrounded by his personal guards. He was huge, twice the size of any human, with claws that could tear through metal. "You think you can take me?" he growled. "I have killed thousands." Sergeant Moon raised her rifle. "You have never killed a human." The fight was short. Dren was strong, but Moon's squad was faster and fought without fear. Within 3 minutes, the warlord was on his knees, his guards dead around him, a human rifle pressed against his head. "Target captured," Moon reported. "Warlord Dren is secure, on the observation deck of Eternity Prime." The council watched in horror. Their invincible fleet had been broken in less than 2 hours. Their greatest warrior had been captured. Their dreadnoughts drifted dead in space, surrounded by the human ships that had killed them. High Arbiter Velos could not speak. His hands trembled. In 3 million years, nothing like this had ever happened. The Council had never been challenged. The Council had never lost, until today. Admiral Park Jun's face appeared on the Council's screens once more. He looked tired, sad, but his voice was still calm. "High Arbiter, enough blood has been spilled. Your fleet is defeated. Your warlord is our prisoner. But this does not have to continue. Surrender your remaining ships. Accept our terms, and no more will die today." Velos looked around the chamber. The other council members stared back at him with fear in their eyes. Some were angry. Some were in shock. But none of them wanted to continue fighting. "What choice do we have?" Velos asked quietly. "You always had a choice," Park replied. "You just never believed anyone would make you use it." One by one, the surviving council ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Admiral Park Jun turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the entire fleet." His voice echoed across 400 ships. "Today, we won a battle, but we did not come here for war. We came here for peace. Real peace. Equal peace. Tomorrow, we will enter that council chamber and demand what every species deserves: the right to be free, the right to be respected, the right to stand." He paused. "Remember those we lost today. Remember their sacrifice, and remember this moment. Because today, humanity showed the galaxy who we really are." Captain Lee Hana listened to the Admiral's words on the bridge of the Defiance. Around her, her crew was celebrating. They had won. Against all odds, they had won. But Hana did not celebrate. She looked out at the battlefield, at the burning ships and the floating debris. She thought of the soldiers who had died. Human soldiers, council soldiers, all of them someone's child, someone's friend. Was it worth it? Kim Dae asked quietly beside her. Hana took a long time to answer. Ask me tomorrow, she said. When we see what kind of future we have bought with their lives. The war was over. But the real struggle was just beginning. The council chamber was silent when Admiral Park Jun entered. His boots echoed on the ancient stone floor. Behind him walked Captain Lee Hana and 12 human marines in full combat armor. They did not carry their weapons raised, but everyone in the room knew what they could do. 12 species watched from their floating platforms. Some looked at the humans with hatred, others with fear. A few, like Counselor Mira, watched with something that might have been hope. High Arbiter Velos sat in his central position, but he did not look powerful anymore. He looked old, tired, defeated. For the first time in thousands of years, someone had said no to him, and he had lost. Admiral Park walked to the center of the chamber and stopped. He stood on the exact spot where countless species had knelt before the council, where they had surrendered their freedom, their future, their identity. Park did not kneel. High Arbiter, he said. His voice was calm and clear. I am Admiral Park Jun of Earth's United Fleet. I speak for all of humanity. Velos forced himself to respond. You have won your battle, human. What do you want? Territory? Tribute? Do you wish to become the new conquerors of this galaxy? No. Park's answer was simple. We do not want to rule anyone. We do not want revenge. We want only what you never offered us. Respect, equality, a voice. You demand a seat on this council? One of the alien representatives shouted. Your species is 60 years old. We have civilizations that have existed for millions of years. Age does not equal wisdom, Park replied. If it did, you would not have spent those millions of years forcing young species to kneel. You would have treated them as partners, not as prey. Counselor Mira rose from her platform. Every eye turned to her. The Thelians had not spoken in a full council session for centuries. They had learned to stay quiet. To survive, the human speaks truth, she said. Her voice was soft but steady. I have waited 500 years to hear someone say these words. My species was integrated long ago. We were promised protection. Instead, we were slowly erased. Our culture, our language, our freedom, all taken in the name of guidance. Mira, you forget yourself, Velos began. No, she interrupted. For the first time, I remember myself. The humans have done what we never had the courage to do. They have shown that the council can be challenged, that the council can lose. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Other representatives began to speak. Species that had been silent for thousands of years found their voices. The Vaughn, the Keth, the distant ones, they had all been integrated. They had all lost parts of themselves, and they had all been waiting for this moment. The council's way must change, Mira continued. No more forced integration. No more treating young species as children to be controlled. If the humans have taught us anything, it is that strength does not come from age. It comes from the will to stand. Velos looked around the chamber and saw his power crumbling. For 3 million years, the council had ruled through fear. Now that fear was gone, replaced by something else. Something dangerous. Hope. What guarantee do we have? Velos asked, his voice barely a whisper. If we accept the humans as equals, what stops them from becoming what we were? What stops them from conquering us? Admiral Park stepped forward. I will give you my word. And I will give you something more. He reached into his uniform and pulled out a small data chip. This contains everything we know about war. Every tactic, every weapon, every strategy humans have ever developed. We share it freely with every species in this chamber. Gasps echoed through the hall. If humanity ever becomes what you fear, Park continued, you will have the tools to stop us. This is our promise. We do not want to rule. We only want to be free. And we want the same for everyone else. He placed the chip on the floor at the center of the chamber. Velos stared at the chip for a long moment. Then he looked at Park. You would give away your greatest advantage? The very thing that let you defeat us? Power that must be hoarded is power that cannot be trusted, Park said. We share it because we believe in something greater than ourselves. We believe that all species, young or old, deserve the chance to stand on their own feet. The vote was taken. For the first time in 3 million years, the council changed. Forced integration was abolished. Earth was granted full membership, and a new law was written into the council's charter. No species shall be forced to kneel. No civilization shall be erased. All voices shall be heard. When the vote was finished, Director Kang Tae appeared via hologram from Earth. He stood in the council chamber, his image flickering among the stars. Today, he said, we are no longer children of the universe. We are not prey to be hunted or servants to be controlled. Today, we are partners. Today, we are equals. And today, the galaxy begins a new chapter. The other representatives watched the human with strange expressions. Some were still angry. Some were still afraid. But many were looking at humanity with something new in their eyes. Respect. Captain Lee Hana stood beside Admiral Park as they walked back to their shuttle. The council session was over. The treaties were signed. The future was written. We actually did it, she said quietly. We did what we had to do, Park replied. What our ancestors have always done. We survived. We adapted. We refused to give up. Hana looked back at the council station. Do you think it will last? The peace, I mean, Park considered the question. Nothing lasts forever. There will be challenges, conflicts, species who resent us, species who want to return to the old ways. But that is tomorrow's problem. Today, we celebrate what we have achieved. They reached the shuttle. The Marines were already aboard. Park stopped at the door and looked up at the stars. My grandfather told me stories, he said. About our homeland. About the wars we fought. The enemies we faced. He always said that Korea survived because its people never forgot how to stand up. Even when we were small. Even when we were surrounded. We stood. He turned to Hana. Today, all of humanity stood together. And the galaxy will never forget it. Hana almost smiled. Not bad for a species that has only been in space for 60 years. Not bad at all. The shuttle lifted off and flew toward the Defiance. In the observation deck of the ship, crew members gathered to watch the stars. They had left Earth as soldiers. They were returning as the people who had changed history. Lieutenant Yun-Soo stood among them. He was still young, still uncertain about many things. But he knew one thing for certain. The universe would never look at humanity the same way again. Admiral Park Jun entered the observation deck. The crew snapped to attention, but he waved them down. At ease, he said. You have earned your rest. He walked to the window and looked out at the endless darkness. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. His home, his people. The world he had fought to protect. Admiral, Yun-Soo asked. What do we do now? Park was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to face the young officer. We go home, he said. We rebuild. We heal. And we make sure that our children, and their children, never have to fight this battle again. The Defiance turned toward Earth. 400 ships followed. They had left as wolves, ready to fight. They returned as something more. Protectors. Pioneers. The species that had refused to kneel. Admiral Park Jun stood at the window as the stars streamed past. He thought of all the lives lost, all the sacrifices made, all the courage it had taken to stand against an empire, and he thought of the future. A future where humanity was not prey, a future where every species had a voice, a future built on respect, not fear. He whispered to no one in particular. We remember how to fight. We always have. But maybe now, we can learn how to build something better. The fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. And behind them, the galaxy began to change. For the first time in 3 million years, it was changing for the better.